In this episode, we're going back to the basics, literally, to help you uncover the power of branding for your health business. We'll explore the surprising origins of branding. Hint, it involves cows, actually. Why a strong brand is essential for attracting clients and charging premium prices, and how to build a reputation that sets you apart from your competition. Get ready to ditch the outdated marketing tactics and truly embrace the power of a magnetic brand. Let's get started. So what is branding? So branding actually originated from the act of burning marks into livestock to identify ownership. They would literally brand specifically cattle, a symbol, to show that that was their property or that they owned that livestock or that cattle. And the reason that they did this is because if a rancher's cattle, for whatever reason, wandered off to another farm or pasture, the other person in this pasture, they may be the other farmer or rancher, the other random person that found it, would know who that cow belonged to, and they would know who to bring it back to. That's where branding started, but it's actually not the complete picture. Yes, a logo or a mark on a cattle can show you ownership or where something belongs, but deeper than that, it's actually a reputation. For example, let's say Rancher Randy's cattle wandered off to another pasture and another farmer or rancher or person found that cattle. If Randy had a very poor reputation or a weak brand because he's just, for whatever reason, maybe a mean person or just rude or treats his cattle poorly, you would probably have a very unique response to seeing that cattle. You might even keep that cattle and eat it for yourself, or you might just completely ignore it and never actually return it to Randy because his reputation is bad. Vice versa, if Randy has a very good reputation or a strong brand, it is more likely that you're going to take this cattle and you're probably going to bring it back to Randy, and maybe even with the gifts, just because you love Randy so much because he has a good reputation and a good brand. And the reason this is important is because whenever somebody sees your brand or any of the major brands out there, we'll say Nike or McDonald's or whatever, you have a certain visceral response to it, right? You have a certain belief based on the reputation that they have and the things that they've done that you maybe support or don't support. Well, that's why branding in and of itself is so important, is because it really creates a reputation around what you stand for or maybe what you stand against. So that's what a brand is. Although we associate it with maybe a logo or even a person, it's actually one layer deeper. It is a reputation and the things that you maybe subconsciously think or don't think about this person or business or entity. Why is this important? Well, the reason branding is so important is because it creates behavior change. For example, let's say that for whatever reason, your content is amazing, you offer a lot of free things, you add a lot of value to people. Well, all of those things creates an association with you and your brand that is good, and it strengthens your brand, and therefore it is more likely that somebody is to buy your product or services and also to refer other people to you because of all the good associations that you've attached to your name or your brand or your business. Conversely, if you've done negative things, maybe you have negative publicity, or maybe you treated customers poorly, or you have bad reviews, or maybe your product and service just isn't very good and people talk about that, that creates a negative or a weak brand, which and therefore people are actually less likely to want to buy your services. And even worse yet, they might talk badly about you to other people or write things on the internet that are poorly about your brand, aka weakening your brand. This is why I think when people say any publicity is good publicity is actually complete bullshit. If my goal is to sell more of my products and services, which it is, I want as many good associations with my brand as humanly possible and as few bad associations with my brand as humanly possible, which means oftentimes when customers aren't getting the results that they want, I will completely reimburse them or do everything I can to go above and beyond to make sure that they get a good result, because I want that good association, aka creating a strong brand, aka making it more likely that they tell their friends and family about me, and the cycle continues and goes and goes and goes. This is why some of the major brands like the Apples or the Nikes of the world can charge such a premium price, is because they've created so much good association with their audience and their customers that people will happily pay a premium to not have to deal with somebody that has a weak association or a weak brand because they're not sure what they're going to get from buying their products or services. And I say all this to remind you that everything you do whether brings somebody closer to your brand or further from your brand. I don't believe there's anything as a neutral engagement. Everything you're doing matters, from your logo to your design to your engagement to how quickly you respond. All these things matter. And so it's really important to be intentional about what you're doing to strengthen or weaken your brand. So now that we know what a brand is and why it's important, how do you do it? How do you build a strong brand? At its most basic level, it's about creating as many positive associations as possible and avoiding as many negative associations as possible. I actually put together an extensive list here. We obviously don't feel like you need to do all these things, but to be frank, many of us, myself included, are actually missing many of these. And so I put together a few. Take a few that you think that you can apply to your business and just run with it before trying to tackle them all at once. But I just wanted to give you a list of some things. Number one, Pretty straightforward. Probably one that we should all be doing without question is deliver exceptional value. Like, is the product or the service that you offer super valuable? I actually spent this last week getting clear on my workflow, or I actually put together a flow map of like what it looks like to take a customer of mine from beginning to end and every step in between, because this visual of this picture actually give me some ideas as to where I'm maybe dropping the ball. What you want from a customer experience is a very straight line from beginning of where they are to end of the result or transformation that you want them to get. And if there's ups and downs in this straight line, those are kind of like kinks in the hose, or like oftentimes just pain moments for a client or customer. So it's very clear that you know exactly how to get them from point A and point B, and a flow map can be wonders for getting you clear on how to deliver exceptional value to your clients or customers. The second one is just brand stories, is to having a compelling story and to be open and sharing that story. This is something that really can strengthen a brand, is like being more vulnerable. People obviously are craving authenticity and vulnerability these days, especially with all the AI content. So this is another way that you can just create more brand value, is just being honest and true and sharing the stories. Number 3 is to have just great customer service. This is something I think about and I talked about earlier as well, about if there's a client or customer not getting the results that I would hope that they would get for whatever reason, I will bend backwards to make sure it works out, because it was probably on me. I probably said yes to the wrong person, to be honest. And if it's not a good fit, I should probably just return their money or find somebody else that they should work with that would get them a better result. But having superior customer service, I mean, Amazon is the best example in the world on this topic. Is I don't know if you know this, but there's been many times where if you purchase something and then you actually want to return it, they'll actually just let you keep it because they realize it's probably actually cheaper than the shipping that they would pay to get it back. But that's a crazy level of customer experience. Obviously, we can't do this as health brands, but it's just having that mentality of like, how can I provide exceptional customer service? High quality content. This is one most people don't think about, is like, be intentional about the content that you're creating. If you're putting out a bunch of trash content, people have that association with your brand, whether you like it or not, and vice versa. If you have good content, and I don't mean highly produced, I just mean valuable information, people have that association. Being consistent is a very simple one. People trust things that are more consistent. It's actually one of the reasons McDonald's is as successful as it is. I wouldn't say they have a necessarily superior product in any way, shape, or form, but they are consistent. You know what you're going to get, really, no matter where you are on the face of the planet. And people trust that because of the consistent result that they can expect from McDonald's. Engaging with your audience, again, going back to being just authentic with your audience, this can build a stronger brand. Being more active in your community, whether that is local in your community where people see you showing up, or even online. Partnering with like-minded brands is another strong way to build a brand. It's one of the things that Nike did the best, right? Is they partnered with the LeBron James, I think he's Nike, right? Or the Michael Jordans, or any of your major athletes. When they associate with this athlete, that gives Nike an association with success, essentially, in the athletic realm. So you associate Nike with success in the athletic endeavor when you see an athlete wearing their brand. It's one of the reasons why partnerships are so important. On the flip side of things, here are some ways to avoid negative associations. Definitely monitor your online reputation. Pay attention to maybe what other people are saying about you, or even the content you're putting out there, or especially locally as well. If you're building community locally, just pay attention to what people are saying about you. Are they saying good things? Are they saying bad things? And take that into consideration. Respond to criticism constructively. If you get a negative review, I know our gut instinct is to want to lash out. The best thing you can do is respond in kindness and try to remediate the situation and try to take your emotions out of it as much as humanly possible. Easier said than done, don't get me wrong. High ethical standards, pretty straightforward, is always be honest, always be true to your word. Seems pretty straightforward for that one. And the last thing I want to mention is just make sure you know that everything you do is a representation of your brand, from the content you create, to your logo, to your onboarding process, your offboarding process, to the services you provide, to the user experience of your website and the colors and the format. All these things matter. All these things are formulating an association to your brand and your business. And so definitely be considerate of what you're doing with these things. And if this all sounds like a ton of work, it's because it is. And it's why there are so few people that have a strong brand. And that's also why the people that do have a strong brand are getting clients and customers hand over fist. They're able to charge premium prices. They're getting tons of referrals, is because they've put in the work to understand that every aspect of their business is strengthening or weakening their brand. So don't take it lightly. I hope this was helpful. For the record, I do help health brands with their branding and help figuring out how they can best position themselves in the marketplace. If this is something that you need help with, let me know. But in either case, thanks for watching the show, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.